One of the most dangerous things that can happen to you is not that your life becomes unbearable. It is that the life you hate becomes bearable enough that you stop trying to change it. You adapt to the job that drains you. You get used to the relationship that makes you miserable. You lower your expectations. You stop fighting for the future you wanted. And without realizing it, you begin training yourself to accept the life you never actually chose. Today, I'm going to talk about 3 ways this happens. First, you stop judging your life by whether it is good and start judging it by whether you can tolerate it. Second, every time you ignore what you know needs to change, it becomes easier to ignore it again. And the third, the longer you settle, the harder it becomes to imagine a different life. Then I'm going to give you a practical way to interrupt that pattern without telling you to recklessly blow up your entire life overnight, okay? Friends, welcome back to the Life Reset Collective. My name is Josh. This is the channel where we support, encourage, and motivate people who are preparing for a life reset, going through one, or still rebuilding afterwards. I have been through 2 major life resets myself. That is why I started this channel. Unless you have been through something like this, it can be difficult to understand what it feels like to realize that the life you built is no longer the life you want. And today's topic is difficult because I think a lot of people are living in situations they know are wrong for them right now. They know the job is draining them. You know the relationship is unhealthy. You know that your routine is making you miserable. You know that you want more freedom, connection, purpose, health, or peace. But knowing something needs to change and actually changing it are 2 very different things. Sometimes we stay because leaving is complicated. Sometimes money is involved. Sometimes children are involved. Sometimes there are housing problems, safety concerns, family pressure, or fear of the unknown. I definitely understand those things, but there is still a danger in staying too long because every day you remain in the life you hate, you may be getting better at accepting it. So let's start with the first point. Let's go a little deeper on that. Point number 1, you stop asking whether your life is good. The first sign is that you stop asking whether your life is actually good for you. Instead, you start asking whether you can get through another week, how to avoid another conflict. At first, you probably know something is wrong. You feel frustrated, you feel trapped, you feel disconnected from yourself. You know the situation is not sustainable, right? But human beings are very good at adapting. You've probably learned how to manage that tension. You've probably learned how to avoid certain arguments. You learn how to numb yourself after work. You figure out how to survive that routine. Eventually, the question changes. You're no longer asking yourself, is this relationship healthy? Is this job taking me somewhere I really want to go? Am I proud of the person I'm becoming in this role in my life? And instead, you start asking things like, can I handle this for just 1 more month? Can I keep the peace? Can I just find a way to keep it? Can I make it to the weekend so I can lose myself in escapism? Now, that is a dangerous shift because the life does not need to become good enough to keep you there, right? It only needs to become tolerable enough that you can survive inside it for years without truly living and knowing your full potential. And this brings us to our second point, okay? The second way this happens is through repeated compromise. Usually, people do not give up on themselves in one dramatic moment. It happens slowly. You stop doing one thing that matters to you. You stay quiet during one conversation when you know you should speak up because that's what would be right for your soul. You delay applying for that job because you're maybe afraid of the change or the gap or the unknown, right? You abandon that creative project you were working on. You stop taking care of your body. You allow the controlling partner, the difficult family member, or the miserable workplace to take a little bit more of you every single day. Each individual compromise may seem small, but repeated compromises begin to train you. You begin to learn that your needs can always wait for someone else. You begin to learn that avoiding discomfort is more important than jumping into how uncomfortable it is to actually change your life and make it better. You learn to distrust your own voice. And this is maybe one of the most dangerous things. You learn not to trust yourself because everyone keeps pushing you down, telling you you are the crazy one, etc. Eventually, you may even start building explanations for why the life you settled for is reasonable and maybe even the good choice. You tell yourself that this is what maturity looks like, right? You tell yourself you're being responsible by staying in a situation that is actually destroying your soul. You call avoidance being patient. You call surrender stability. Sometimes patience is necessary. Sometimes compromise is part of being an adult, for sure. But sometimes you know that there's a different truth going on with your reality. You are not making a wise compromise. You are abandoning something important because changing it feels scary and the people around you scare you into doing it. And every time you do that, it becomes easier to do it again. And this leads us to our third point. The third point is that the longer you stay in the wrong life, the harder it becomes to imagine a different one. Maybe you once had a clear picture of what you wanted. You wanted meaningful work. You wanted a healthy, happy, thriving relationship where you felt safe. You wanted to feel strong and confident in your own body. You wanted freedom in your life. You wanted to create something that mattered to you. You wanted to wake up and feel excited about your life. But after enough disappointment, rejection, stress, and survival mode, those possibilities can begin to feel truly unrealistic. You may still believe other people can change their lives. You see someone leave a bad marriage or change careers or get healthy, move somewhere new, start a business. You believe it can happen for them and you think, good for them. Good for them. I wish I was that brave. But the truth is you used to be that brave, but you stopped believing it could happen for you. This is where settling becomes really dangerous, guys. Because once you stop believing that change is possible, you stop looking for opportunities to change. You say no before the chance has even arrived, before you've even given yourself a chance to think through it, to maybe make a plan. You stop making plans. You stop taking risks. You start treating your current circumstances as though they are permanent. And they may not be permanent. They may simply be familiar. And this connects closely to something that I have talked about before in other videos. When people lose faith that their effort can produce a future they actually want, motivation begins to disappear, guys. You're not always unmotivated because you're lazy. No. You may think that, but it's not true. Sometimes you're unmotivated because you have stopped believing that your life can become something different, can become something better. So here's the solution. What do you do about this? I do not think the answer is to just walk out of your job tomorrow, to scream at your boss, to end every relationship, to sell your house and move to the wilderness. As attractive as that idea could be sometimes, and I've had that thought, usually that's not quite the right rational solution. Okay? That may create a life reset, yeah, but probably not a very well planned one. The first step is much simpler than that. You need to create visible evidence that you are no longer fully surrendering to the life you hate. And this is a small step. Okay, you start by identifying one area of your life that is not working. You be honest about it. You do not explain it away. You do not immediately defend it. You ask yourself, what am I tolerating right now that I know needs to change? Just one thing. Then decide what a better direction would look like. Not a perfect life. You don't need to fix everything right now in this one decision. You don't create a fantasy. Just create one better direction in one small category for yourself. Then take one concrete action on that new direction. That might mean applying for just one job. That might mean saving the first $100 toward moving to a new place of your own. That might mean scheduling the appointment you need to schedule with your doctor. It might mean recording that first video for your YouTube channel. It might mean taking a class and beginning a new direction for your life, right? It might mean making a difficult phone call or setting one boundary or going for a walk. It could be that simple. It could mean cleaning your room, writing down a plan. The first goal is not to completely rebuild your life in one day, friends. The goal is to prove that you still have influence over your future. Prove it to yourself. You may not be able to leave today. You may need money, planning support, legal help, a safe place to live, or time to prepare. That's totally okay. In fact, that's where wisdom and patience can come in. But waiting and preparing are not the same thing as surrendering to this life that you're in. Preparation moves you toward something different. Surrender keeps you exactly where you are. You do not need to feel completely confident before you begin. You need to begin creating reasons to trust yourself again. This is how you interrupt the training. Instead of practicing surrender, start practicing forward movement. Instead of teaching yourself that nothing can change, Create proof that something can change. Once you begin seeing that proof, hope can start returning. Friends, let me tell you from experience, you do not have to accept the life you hate just because you have survived it for a long time. Familiar does not mean healthy, guys. Tolerable does not mean good all the time. And staying somewhere for years does not mean you are required to stay there forever or that it's going to be good for you to do that. You may need to move slowly away from the life you're in right now. You may need to plan carefully. You may need to get help. But please do not let the wrong life convince you that it is the only life available to you. Tell yourself the truth about what is not working. Choose a better direction and begin creating evidence that you are still capable of changing your future. Thank you so much for coming back for another episode of the Life Reset Collective, friends. If this speaks to you, leave a comment and let me know what part of your life you are trying to change, okay? And please subscribe if you want to follow along. I care about you people, and I will see you amazing people in the next video.